and welcome to Foundry Files. I am Admiral Murphy.
And I am Wee Wee, with an actual functioning headset for once.
Yeah, he's bad on it apparently or something. Actually, it was funny. You showed me, like, he was like, during our last episode or whatever, he was like, hey, look at this. He pulls up his cord and it's like ready to snap. Do you still have it?
I actually have it right here, yeah.
Here, show it. He shows me this. It's like, it's ready to snap. And 2 days later, he goes, my headset broke. We're not going to be able to shoot.
Can you see that? Can you see that on my face?
Yeah, we can see it.
Yeah, you understand why I had to get in your headset.
So that's why we were off last week, but now we are back. Actually, we was in London, so was that fun? Did you like do London-y things like fish and chips? Right? They do that in London, I assume. They just go around and go, oh look, it's Big Ben, and ooh, fish and chips. Anyway, hey, there's been like no Foundry news at all, so we're not really having a Foundry news segment this week.
Yeah, we'll be discussing a few Romulan things, which we'll get into in a little bit.
Yeah.
News, but nothing really like that. We have a spotlight mission from last week.
Oh yeah, what is that?
We weren't there.
I have that somewhere here.
It was the Rising Phoenix Part 1 by Hitch2Rat, which is the dev.
Wait, hold on. Bran Flakes? Really? You pick a dev? Is that favoritism there? Is that favoritism? Hold on.
No.
Is favoritism? Okay, moving on.
No, it's another good reason as well, because I don't know whether you guys know this out there, but Hitch2Rat, the guy who made that mission, is actually a guy with cancer. So I want you guys to play this mission, support it, and support him, please.
Didn't he have a thing up for like money or something? Yeah,
he has a website out there. I can't remember the link.
I don't remember it.
Yep, scavenging it around somewhere. But please go and support that guy, because he made a fantastic mission. He's a brilliant dev, and my heart's out to him, really.
Yeah. But yeah, so basically that's all the Foundry stuff that happened over the time, because everything that's been coming out is all legacy of Romulus.
That's not too bad.
I'm not going to complain. I'm not going to complain. I mean, we're not going to... I mean, it doesn't help a podcast out like this when it's not Foundry, but you know what? I'm pumped for it. I've been looking at it. I haven't played a lot around with it. Wee Wee's going through it.
I'm going all the way, dude.
She's going all the way, that's what she said. I've basically played through the tutorial and then stopped there. I just wanted to mess around the character creator to figure out what I'm going to play. I'm going to be playing like a medic Romulan lady person. And Wee Wee, you're going with a Romulan dude or something?
Yeah, I haven't decided which yet. I was hoping to create an alien, but unfortunately, of course, subscribers can only do that. So I was debating to myself whether to subscribe to one.
He's a Reaper.
It's worth it though. But
oh yeah, I've loved what I played. I said I don't know whether it's sad or a great sign that the tutorial is probably one of the best things I've played yet in Stowe, because I was just like, man, that's really sad if I'm saying that for the tutorial, but it's a good sign for the rest of the Romulan stuff.
That tutorial is actually really, really good. It's one of the best ones they've done so far. I think all they need adding right now is voiceovers, and that's about it, really.
Yeah, and they said they're coming. They just don't have them ready to go yet.
The only tutorial we haven't seen yet is the Klingon one. We've seen,
I've seen
some of the first few missions they play, but the actual starting tutorial isn't there yet. We haven't been able to play it, so I'm actually really curious about that now.
Yeah, I'm curious to see where that goes too, because as much as I love my ramen, I'd love if they'd be able to fix our Klingon guy up, especially after the mission we played today, because you know what, maybe we should just roll into that review, and here's what we have to say on Infiltration Point.
And on to our mission review, part 4 of the series. I think it was 3 weeks ago. That was long until we reviewed part 3, wasn't it?
It was a while ago, because we went on break, then Brandon came back, then your headset broke, so it's been a while since we had a mission. Yeah,
so part 4 of the series, Infiltration Point. As of this recording, it has a average star rating of 4.18.
Whoa, that sounds like that other mission we reviewed, Wee Wee.
And about every other man in the file. Anyway, it has a decent number of players, 1,058 as of this recording. So it's pretty up there. It's got a pretty high star rating, along with pretty much every other mission there is. So let's get into it, shall we?
Story. It's up to you to work with an operative Nava or something like that. All I know is she was the Orion babe with boobs. And you got to sneak behind enemy lines to continue your task of saving the glorious Empire and bust those damn Undine infiltrators that are everywhere. They're just everywhere, wee wee. But can you work with one enemy to stop another? That's the key, because we all know Cleons are terrible diplomats, so who knows. But I have to say, I'm sorry, but this plot was terrible. As someone who hates the Cleon story, and this now being one of my favorite story missions in game, that just says something. It's just wow. I mean, okay, really, the author did a brilliant job, because I'm pretty sure if you've been watching this show or if you just like played with me in Stowe, I hate the Cleons. I always dissed on their story because it was so terrible in this game. And it says, when I was playing through this, like, oh my god, this is the best story mission I've played in a while. And it's Cleon. What's wrong here? What's going on? Why am I loving this so much? So the plot is brilliant. I mean, he pulls from a lot of different sources from canon, and he ties things together that you don't think would be tied together. And I'll get more into that in the canon touchstone. But just with that and the great plot twists and turns, it's just really come together, and I'm excited to play the final part now, because part 4 was just great. Throughout the whole mission, I was so sucked into the story.
Yeah, and I said this I said this in the last review. I'm saying it in part 2. This is where it starts getting into starts building up to the epic finale. It continues from the stuff you've already done and builds up to the finale of what you've been expecting. And this is actually not too surprising the way this mission has turned out, because if parts 2 and 3 have been building up, and part 4 will have to be something, a good continuation and a tension built to the finale. You've seen it in the feature episodes, Colosseum, Facility 4028. Both of those missions are part 4, and they're really, really good.
Yeah.
For different reasons. So I think this is another example of that kind of a thing.
But okay, so going on to characters then, they have continued to evolve too. I remember in the first part I was saying, yeah, they're all right. They have really evolved, especially the enemies that are working against you. Because I can spoil it, right? This was covered in the third part. The Cleon dude, yeah, that was in the third part. So yeah, remember, we are doing spoilers from parts 1 and 3. So, but basically, you know, the Cleon guy. Oh yeah, I didn't say two. Wrong English. But so basically, you've got the Cleon guy who was proven to be an Undine infiltrator, and that character even gets more expanded on in this, and that's really cool to see. And then there's also the you know what? I'll hit that in touchstoning, because that's a big point there. I hate it because the one part I really want to talk about is story, and I can't spoil it for you guys because that was brilliant.
All I will say, the guy species will seem familiar, and I'd really not.
That dude sold me on this mission.
The guy who is from the same species that you'll know from actual series is associated with a guy that everybody really hates. That's all I'll say.
You mean Neelix? What?
Die.
You like Neelix? You like Neelix? Okay. Anyway, the dialogue was very well written in this mission. Each race you encounter, I felt their dialogue just fit with the race. It felt different depending on which person you were talking to. Even speaking to Undine infiltrators, which you will do throughout the series here, that was cool to see, because you're like, I can kind of tell you're not Cleon and you're just putting on an act. It's a good thing you're here and not actually in the field or whatever. Stuff like that. Great canon usage, brilliant touchstoning on multiple fronts, like Undine infiltration, and this is where that last character comes in. There's a special appearance from an alien race from TNG that kind of explains what's been going on with why the Fakir. I think that's probably what sold me too. I always thought it was dumb to have the Fakir. I was just like, oh, they just brought the Fakirians. They're gonna have just some like fantasy race. It makes no sense. They are always mythology. This wrapped it up so well that when I talked with this character from the race in TNG, I was just like, oh my god, this is the best mission ever.
Yeah, this is the thing I just mentioned. It's a really good explanation.
I was like reading this like, this makes so much sense now. I love it.
We can't say anything, and we'd like to. Probably cover it next week.
And you know what? I was always kind of fascinated by that race in TNG. And this just made me like love them. Like, this expands on their canon so much. I'm interested to see where it goes, and it also expands on Cleon mythology. All of that expanding on current Stowe canon is great, and that's what really draws the player into the story of this mission. And it's a bonus too, because there's no grammar and only one spelling error. Story scored a 9.36, number 2 in story now, guys. So go play it.
Hang on, are you sure that spelling error is not something from real English?
You mean like how in your mission when we played through it that one time and there were mistakes galore in the spelling, but it was okay because in the beginning you said use British spellings. You mean like that?
You know what? Just keep putting your dialogue with no UEs on the end and see where you go over here. Anyway.
For those of you who don't know, when we started out Foundry Files, there was this Irish dude. He was kind of bald and short or whatever who was on the show. I forget his name. We'll call him Irish for now. But anyway, he basically, always, when we had to write up our review docs and stuff like that, he would basically go into mine and add UE at the end of every dialogue, where eventually, subconsciously, I started spelling dialogue with UE, and then here at American school, got called out for it being spelled wrong. It's like, but that's how you spell it. And it's like, no, that's how you spell it in Europe. And then when I mentioned that to Irish, he said, oh, that's because I've been doing this to you all these months. I was like... Anyway, moving on. We're in the present now, and we don't know who that guy is anymore. Whatever. Anyway, moving on to technical. Here's another thing that I really liked, because while we've seen the story really improve since part 1, technical is also quite improved since part 1, especially the map building. I remember I did complain in the first one, it's like, there's like, these are all pre-made maps, nothing really special. Part 4, I'm surprised at how kind of the quality has really changed, which makes me kind of think you should go back and just up it in 1 if you could. But anyway, the maps were really great in this. You go to, first of all, the planet system's nice that you originally go to, then you beam down to this custom Romulan city he's built. That was really impressive.
That was really impressive, yeah. That's one of the best cities I've ever seen, actually. I mean, obviously a few extraneous examples that are really up at the top, like Palmar Reef, for example.
Yeah.
This is another fantastically made one as well.
I'd say I didn't have a good enough look around the stages because you're kind of going in stealthy and you don't want to get caught. This is probably the second best city I've seen. There was one mission that I played a while ago. I want to find it again, but it was in the early days of the Foundry on holodeck, and it was basically just built to show off this awesome city map somebody built. And it was really awesomely constructed, and it had a nice little story this author threw in. I want to see if I can try to find that again, because it was a really nice mission. I have a bad feeling, though, the author left the game, and the mission's not up anymore, because a few missions I've really liked have disappeared over the time. But it was a really nice map to see, and this one was pretty good, too. And then he built his own Romulan custom interior, which was nice to see, because we know that is kind of difficult to pull off in the Foundry with the limited Romulan art assets. Good transitions in the mission. You shouldn't have a problem. You don't hit loading screens that much, and there's a lot of stuff to do on each map. Yeah. The author also shows great knowledge of the Foundry through triggers and map construction. So great job there. There are also no issues technical-wise that I noticed.
Yeah, and actually that brings me to another point. The way the city's designed, it's believable.
Yeah.
The way that it's designed as well. So that's the kind of a thing which you need to notice. Not only is it really well designed, it's brilliantly laid out. You would expect things to be in that position because it's perfectly logical if you think about it, and all that kind of stuff. So expect that kind of a thing when you're roaming through the city.
Yep, great art assets to use to create these maps and stuff like that. And amazing creativity in this mission. There's brilliant maps, a very creative story. Can you name like one person movie who'd probably go through this and not at least go, wow, that was pretty cool? Because already you're hitting great maps, great tech, great story.
People who hate the Foundry?
Oh, you mean people who exploit it or something? I don't know.
Just saying.
You people are weird. I mean, you're playing a game to enjoy it, but whatever. I don't know. Anyway, then you've got some good instructions throughout the mission, clearly telling players where to go. Do we have any Foundry limitations? I didn't have any I ran into, really.
I think it's got maybe a couple of reskins. I can't remember what they are now. Kind of a thing we've seen in the previous missions. Dreadnoughts reskin as battleships. And the general Foundry limitation in this area are kind of something you can't help. For example, one of the maps you go to is an old map, and half the floor tiles go through a blank. So you just
he didn't mention that.
Still standing it. But it's difficult to progress where you're going because you can't see half where you're going.
Yeah, I did remember when I went to... I did replay the mission today, just because it had been a while since we last played it. But I did read that in his bug reports that Cryptic broke the map, so it's got some gaps and stuff like that. Yeah, the part...
He does mention that, by the way, so...
Yep. Now, the part I do remember the part you're talking about is it's where, towards the end of the mission, you're taking on like an Undine ship or whatever. And of course, Undine ships are supposed to be tough, so he tries to make it look like this big, tough battle. So he reskins a whole bunch of shuttles as like different, bigger class ships. And they're all supposed to be taking on this dreadnought, but of course it's a battleship if you're playing as a solo player. So basically, it's the battle looks tough because these starships, which are actually shells, are blowing up easily, and then you show up and just annihilate the crap out of it.
System-wise, that can be constituted as a foundry limitation. The fact that there are no dreadnoughts, but the fact that I've been over this in the past few weeks. I'm not going to do it again. So listen to that.
Anyway, technical scored an 8.29, our 8th ranked in technical. It's pretty good on that front too.
It's doing pretty well so far. Let's see how it goes with gameplay, shall we?
I guess. I mean, Neverwinter's down, so I guess I can't call you the game master. So
I can patch that now, so I'm very happy. Anyway, just start off the usual stuff. Space gameplay. It was good. A bit to do in some space stages of this mission. Usual stuff is space gameplay. Besides, not too much moving around. It can get involved with avoiding enemy groups and using objects on the map, but other than that, it's not really too much of an issue. There's no excellent parts, but there's no bad parts. You would expect these things to put in.
It's your average space gameplay.
Just average, yeah. Space combat was great. Multi-stack groups towards the end, in a few instances of this mission as well, to make some interesting combat elements. Undine are a bit like Romulans in terms of plasma DOTs. They're a pain to fight and annoying to stand against, but generally not too difficult. They can be squishy, but they can be irritating. You will get you on the fire half the time. So hazard emitters is your friend in this mission. Good overall on this side of things, though.
Yep.
Ground, now this is the kind of a thing that needs to be kept high, and ground gameplay in this mission does not disappoint. Again, very consistent. Lots of optional interactive objects and NPC dialogue options in this mission. It makes the immersion side of things excellent in this mission, as we've seen in the first 3 parts, actually. So good consistency there. Let's hope that says for part 5. A couple of instances where moving too much may be an issue on the ground, but not too bad most of the time.
At least you're avoiding. My thought there is at least you're avoiding map transitions if you're staying on a map long enough. So,
I mean, the only issue you'll probably get is getting lost in the map with no tiles.
Yeah.
But if you're familiar with it, I'll just say that it's a map from before season 4, which you'll probably guess by now what it is, and you'll generally be able to know that. But free players will probably get lost unless you play the Fakiri missions. Ground combat on that side of things was interesting as well. A couple of instances where there were multi-stack groups, which is always really good. Undine are usually a pain to fight with their psionic attacks, but generally are easy to fight. They will go straight through your shields. Do not count on your shields to help you in this mission, apart from ones that resist against psionic attacks. So pack plenty of hypos, grab a medic, and go with it. But make sure you flank them because they're pretty squishy on that side of things. Not too bad for the rest of the time, though. There was a bit of replayability, not packing up the humor. The optional stuff in this mission, such as avoiding the combat NPC dialogue and interactive objects, makes this a multi-class mission. You don't have to do it. Murphy never does it the first time, and I always end up doing that.
Yeah, sometimes
so blame him if none of this works. There are other things like alternate dialogue in this mission. There are a lot, which makes a good captain choice in the mission also. I think part 3 and 2 did that as well.
Yeah.
Maybe part 1. So I think that's another consistent thing throughout this series. So generally, a lot of replayability in this mission, and do the optional stuff and don't become him. Gameplay overall scored a 7.5 and put it in 12th. So
pretty good.
The score gradually kept on going down from 2nd to 8th to 12th, but generally it's really, really good overall.
Overall? Well, oh my god, the story made me puke my pants. That's how I had to describe it, because it was that amazing, the story. And the mission across the board is perfectly crafted as well. I say crafted. I think the puke my pants threw me off. Anyway, the mission across the board was perfectly crafted. And I really do highly recommend it to anybody who wants to go play a Cleon. If you're one of those people like me who just goes, I don't want to play a Cleon, all they do is shoot stuff, there's no story, they just go, oh, let's just shoot stuff even if it makes no sense. Let's go ally with the feds even though it makes no sense. This was a really great mission. Story-wise, it's one of my favorite out there, and I'd have to say, go check it out. If you are one of those people who are thinking of maybe when a Legacy Romulus comes around, you want to roll up a Cleon, I don't know how much story is going to be added in there, but even if there's just a little bit added in, a series like this is great to play through as well.
Yeah, I've experimented with the different missions on Treble, and there's enough, I'll put it that way, for you to level up.
Yep. So all of you weird Cleon players, go ahead out there and play it. And I did catch your little dock change there, wee, so nice try, though. Maybe next week. Anyway, speaking of next week, I guess we'll be wrapping up the series. If there's any Foundry news, I have a feeling we're not going to really see any Foundry news, as it's all focused on Legacy of Romulus, and really there's no Foundry changes coming in with Legacy of Romulus. But you never know, we'll see. But basically, I think we're just going to have reviews after a while, so there. And if you haven't heard, we'll be doing like a Tholian mission coming up. I think some by like Rogue Enterprise, Bazak, stuff like that. We might even have Maverick from Stoked Radio on. I know he mentioned he might want to come on and join us for a review. I'll have to talk with him. Yeah, Admiral Stash Rick. He was on the People's Court, I heard. Have you seen that? It's pretty good. You should watch it. Anyway, I think that's it for this week. We'll see you next week.
Yeah, don't do a plug-in again.